Hello, everyone. Welcome to Geek Tank, where everything is a matter of geek. We're your hosts. I'm Zia,
And I'm Kay.
and today we are talking about anime, but specific. What?
We're not talking about anime.
Technically, yes, we are.
No.
Yeah, we're talking about certain anime. Oh, wait, yeah, you're right. I was thinking Ghost
Well,
in
now,
the Shell.
now,
Okay.
now we're going into this like this.
Yeah.
This is our intro. We are not talking about anime.
Okay. We're now talking about. Well, I'm thinking at the forefront of my mind. The reason I said anime is because recently, meaning yesterday, we just saw Alita Battle Angel,
The
which
live action.
the live action version, but it's based on a manga, and it was also an OVA anime that was my introduction to it as a kid. So we wanted to do this episode on media that is similar to Alita, with this whole exploration of what humanity is, essentially.
Essentially, the title of this episode is More Human Than Human.
To steal a quote from Blade Runner, which is why this is not anime only.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, Blade Runner uses that. Like, so that's the theme of this episode. This is what is being more human than human, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have all these mediums that question that, what being human is. So, yeah, that line is specifically from Blade Runner, but that line has been used in so many different ways in different mediums.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm just saying that is a direct quote
Yeah,
from Blade
yeah.
Runner. Because we will be talking about Blade Runner. I mean, Alita is on the forefront of my mind because
Yeah.
that just came out,
Yeah.
and I was very pleased with it.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised and pleased with it.
Did you ever watch the OVA or
Nope.
read the manga?
No, I know
No?
of it. I never watched it, but I mean, like, I know the plot synopsis of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you were at least familiar with it.
yeah.
So going into Alita Blind, would you now want to watch the OVA or read the manga?
Yeah, definitely. And funny thing is that we'll probably be able to watch it if you go to Propeller Anime's Anime Night this Thursday, because they're gonna be playing it.
And where is Anime Night, Kay?
It's usually at the Bikuri Lounge.
On East Colonial Drive in
Yeah.
Orlando.
Yeah.
So if you're local, definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
But because we're supposed to be talking about, meaning of humanity, being more human than human and whatnot. Where would you like to start? Where do you want to take us first? Do you want to start with Alita and kind of
Well, let's get into that question, right?
what is humanity? What is human?
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure this question is going to vary from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it is to be human?
That's a good question. I think being human is more of an idea than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. See, oh man, now I feel like we're doing my segment, but I'm put on the spotlight.
Yeah. How's it feel?
Okay, it's tough because I believe a lot of things. I mean,
it's gonna change.
being human is sort of like the ability to be a conduit between what is real, and by real I mean physical, and also metaphysical, so like ideas and things like that. Because as a human, we are not ideas or ideals, but we hold them, meaning we use them like tools, and we use them to shape the physical world. So in a sense, I feel like humans are a bridge between the material and the immaterial.
It's, for me, I think it's just pretty much like there really isn't an answer to it. It's just,
or rather, there's so many answers that
there's so many
it's not just one thing.
Yeah, it's just not one thing. Like, for example, like, see if I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Like, in your description, You know, like we've come to learn that, like, okay, all the information that we see in our eyes, right, is not exactly what we see. It's just what our brain perceives.
It's not the true reality.
It's not the true
it's just
reality, right? It's just what our brain can allow us to comprehend.
Yeah, and usually it simplifies for the sake of optimizing
so
survival.
So if people think, like, you know, being human is having like a organic body or whatnot, do we actually have like an organic body? Because that's what information we see, or we're limited to seeing.
Well, I'm gonna throw in my little mysticism plug that you're a mind with a body, not a body with a mind. Or your body is in your mind rather than your mind is in your body.
Yeah. So, but even with that, it's just like, you know, it's, for me, I believe it's like, just not to like downplay your thing. For me, it's just like,
well, I mean, go ahead and downplay it because it's just one idea.
Yeah, it's one idea. Yeah, there's many ideas, and like in your segment, your video, you know, who are you? I just truly believe, like, you know, everything is like a living thing, regardless whether it's, you know, an inanimate object and whatnot. I believe being human is just having the will to exist. And for me, it's like, okay, whether, because the thing, that's the problem, right? For me, I see in these mediums where they use the term more human than human, like, oh, you know, you're just like exactly like a human, or you're better than a human, you have more empathy than a human, or more compassionate than a human. But the thing is that human beings, or like us as living people, also have the capacity to not be compassionate, not be empathetical. We see that in our daily lives. We see that in the world.
Well, that's something that a lot of these stories also cover. So we're not only going to be talking about Alita. We're going to be talking about Blade Runner. We're going to be talking about Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah. So spoiler warning now.
Spoiler. Well, I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers for all of them. But you can see across all these sort of transhumanist sci-fi stories that you have this usually it's like a, you know, cyborgs, robots, something like that they have a similar experience to humans. You know, they show empathy, they show compassion, but they're not treated as being equal to a human because they lack the organic bodies that we have, or because they're feared because they're stronger.
Yeah. I mean, like, even if you could go even beyond that, it's like you have the earliest story of Pinocchio. You have Greek mythology that kind of covers certain aspects of this. So it's not like a new concept. Like, even though it may, like, in certain mediums, like, show like in the futuristic settings, it's a very old question.
I think it comes down to a question of consciousness, meaning us operating at a certain level determines whether you're human or not. But you know, then you look at it, and some humans have greater conscious awareness than others. It's almost like the ones that they depict in these stories that are very close-minded and discriminatory against, you know, robots, replicants, cyborgs, and all that. They're
in the Matrix.
How so in the Matrix?
You have the machines. Humans against machines.
Right. Yeah, because actually you're right. In the backstory, they kind of explain that humans started it.
Yeah. So, I mean, Akira has some of those elements, you know? But like the same question, like I said, this term, more human than human, has been like present in almost all these mediums. It's just, but then the funny thing is, this is like, we don't know what being human actually is. Like, at least I think, like,
that's why I'm saying it. Typically, the idea that I think is underlying it is that humans have a higher level of consciousness. Like, we're able to self-evaluate. We're able to observe our own actions and emotions. You can't necessarily control those things or even the thoughts that pop in your head, but you can observe them.
Yeah.
Which, if you look at an animal, for instance, they seem to act instinctively, or at least more instinctively than humans do. But then even within the animal kingdom, you have animals that have, you know, higher levels of empathy than others. Like, if you look at a dog, for instance, it's much different than a wild wolf.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with the wild wolf. It's just different. And I think that's getting at the idea of what human is in regards to these stories.
Yeah. And that's one of the greatest I love about Ghost in the Shell. You know, sadly, the Ghost in the Shell remake didn't do that well. I mean, it was I didn't like, my problem with it was just like aesthetically it was great. Story wise, they hit certain notes that were good, and then they just kind of ruined it with this one certain aspect of like like the love story arc, and I was just like, no.
Okay, well let's tie this back to Alita, because you did like Alita, right?
Yeah, I did,
and I liked it. So Alita has a romance going on.
Yeah.
And what is it that about Ghost in the Shell and Alita that makes one do well and the other not so much?
Because the characterization of Major. Okay. The way, we've come to know her and everything like that is kind of like, I'm okay with changing, certain things, but then it's like you kind of change like that core characterization of her, where it's kind of like.
So I haven't seen the live action Ghost in the Shell, but I love the original, the anime movie.
Like I said, one of the things that the live action and the does well is like, the way it makes it look aesthetically. It looks like a Ghost in the Shell. Like I enjoy it.
But I feel like that's a very small part in comparison.
Yeah, that's a small part in comparison to the themes.
I mean, for those not familiar with Ghost in the Shell, it's deeply philosophical, and it's about these blurred lines of between humanity and technology as we advance in society.
Because one of the great things that it does, like I said, both the live action and the original, obviously the original anime movie, is that boat scene, that philosophical boat scene where they have that conversation about what does it mean to be, where they themselves don't actually answer the questions, but they discuss, like we're discussing now, what does it mean to be human? Mm-hmm. If I have, if my whole body is cybernetic, but my brain is organic, I still have my own thoughts. I still have. Am I human? Mm-hmm. Like, what owns me? Or or the other way around. If my body is gonna be organic, but my mind is gonna be cybernetic. Mm-hmm. But what does it? What does it mean? Who's gonna own what? Like.
I mean, Alita tackles a similar thing where they have a character that is entirely cybernetic except for the brain, which is still human. Yeah. And they do a good job of both of them, I think. Speaking strictly about the Ghost in the Shell anime, because again, I haven't seen the live action, but between Ghost in the Shell anime and Alita, whether it's live action or OVA, they depict future societies where humanity is almost becoming obsolete, because Ghost in the Shell, people have all kinds of cybernetic implants. They have
the neural network.
The neural network. Yeah. So and they're also all connected through that. In Alita, on the other hand, it's you see these humans that have lost limbs and it's being replaced with cybernetic prosthetics. Basically, these people are human in the sense that they think similarly to humans. They feel like humans do. It's just they have machine bodies. Yeah. And it's almost like depicting that as conditions become harsher on the planet, that eventually people are going to have to adapt, and that's the next step in evolution for humans as opposed to an organic evolution.
Yeah. The thing, like I said, Battle Angel Alita, the way it does its romance is the fact that, like, when you see Alita, the character, it's kind of like she's growing up. She's a child. Where in comparison to where Major's character, the romance in the live action didn't work, because it's like we've come to know the previous iterations of how that character is, and like it just doesn't suit her because she already knows what she is. Mm-hmm. So
the romance was tacked on.
It was because it's Hollywood.
Yeah, they got to throw that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess they were trying to humanize Major more, because to me at least, she's always sort of been robotic in a sense.
Yeah, she's been like robotic and like kind of cold, but like also gets the shit done, but still has like some kind of. She
has some aspect of humanity to her, but she's more she's more robotic than Alita on the other hand, which is very
exactly
similar
where
to her.
Alita is kind of like like that Pinocchio story, in a sense.
Yeah, to a degree. Well, going back to the romance though, the reason why I think it works in that case is the fact that it allows you to empathize with her more, because she is like you said, like a child at the start of it.
She's discovering herself, know.
That's part of her growing. That's something very human. You go out, you find love, you feel pain, sorrow, joy, all these different things. And it's taking this character that initially you'd probably look at as a machine and showing, oh, hey, look, she's no different than you or I.
And like I was seriously pleasantly surprised by Alita, because when I saw the trailer and I just saw like the anime eyes, I was like, man, what is this shit? Like, why are you gonna do it?
That was a little strange, but I was pretty excited for it for the most part.
But then once I started watching it, like I was like, oh, this is really good movie. I mean, like it's not the greatest. Obviously, there were some acting hiccups that I didn't.
Oh yeah. There's some acting hiccups, but I was.
But other than that, the visual spectacle, and like the storytelling, like certain actors were really good in it.
Oh yeah, Christoph Waltz, man. Yeah. Christoph Waltz is always phenomenal.
Mahershala Ali.
Mm-hmm.
He was great. Jennifer Connelly was great. I mean, there are certain things where like certain people delivered their acting a little bit stiff, but overall, it still worked out. Like I thought that was gonna be gonna put me out of the movie, where it's like I just focus on Alita's eyes, like wow, this looks goofy and shit like that. But once you start watching the movie, you're just kind of like, wow, this actually looks pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can only remember so much of the OVA because I was young when I watched it, but I loved it then. And from what I saw in this live action film, it was pretty faithful to it, assuming my memory is not just completely fucked. But it's, either way, I noticed that they hit most of the beats from the original story.
I mean, and the thing is, like this story has been told numerous times. Something similar to it has been told.
But it has its own distinct flavor, which is why people still remember it.
Yeah, exactly. Alita has that, dude, just like the amount of work it took for those special effects and everything like that. And that's the thing that, like, Ghost in the Shell did really well. The live action, I thought the special effects were amazing in that. But it just fell off in that fucking story. It just...
And again, talking about the live action.
Yeah, the live action. It's just like it just fell off into, the characterization of Major. It just kind of like it was doing well, and then I was just like, oh, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, the Ghost in the Shell, I had no interest in watching. I'm gonna say, like, I remember seeing the trailers. I'm like, nope. But Alita, I saw it and I was like, knowing James Cameron and how much he's been. Because he's been talking about it for a while.
Oh, he's been wanting to direct it, but he didn't direct it. He helped produce it.
Yeah, but he's been wanting to do a live action Alita for a long time. Yeah. So I was like, I think it's gonna go well.
Yeah,
and I was pleased.
And James Cameron knows how to do like visuals and stuff. So I'm pretty sure Robert Rodriguez, and I think that was the director, right?
Yeah, that's the one that did Spy Kids. Same director, right?
Yeah. So he did amazing with the visual aspect of it. I mean, like I was just like. I was like, damn, Alita does actually look fucking real and shit in this world and whatnot, and the world looked great. And even though it was like, they showed just like a small aspect of the world, like you understood right away.
I thought they did really good with the world
building.
Well, no,
that's what I'm saying. Like you just saw like a small section of the world, but you understood like, okay, this is actually like, you know what I'm saying? Like whereas comparison to like where, if you compare it to like Blade Runner 2049, you saw so many different locations. Right. So you kind of understood like, okay, the world's fucked up, but like the world is big. This didn't have to show so many different locations for you to understand how big the world is and how like messed up it is down there. Yeah. So that's one thing I think, like the world building.
Are we talking about Avatar now?
Yeah, but the world building was like really good. and showing the lives of people and that are in Iron City or it was amazing. It was a nice visual feat. And you've played Nier, so these themes are also explored in Nier as well, right?
Yeah, similarly.
To be more specific, Nier Automata.
Nier Automata, not just Nier on PS3, which was I think it was Nier Replicant was what it was subtitled in Japan, but it's similar but also different because I think Nier goes a little deeper with consciousness, and it's much more overt, where it's like, again, with Alita and Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, it's this question of humanity, but I think, again, that humanity is sort of is synonymous with consciousness in this case. Yeah. So,
but it's funny when you say that, like it's synonymous with consciousness. But in these movies,
I think in this context, yeah,
in these movies, like they kind of represent like what being human is just being selfless. In a sense, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have like this empathy.
Empathy could be another way of saying it, but I feel like that's also a symptom of a higher level of consciousness, because you're not just acting like an automaton, which. Going back to Nier, is funny that they call it Nier Automata, because the characters, even though they're sort of like slaves to humans, they're also human in a sense themselves. They experience the same emotions. They, experience similar thoughts. They're basically humans, but with robotic bodies.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm trying not to spoil things.
And I mean, you don't want to diss your waifu.
Oh yeah, she's back there. 2B, I got her propped up, a little perler art of her.
Here, just pull it out. Who got this for you,
Don't touch my wife.
Who got this for you, though?
Kay got this for me.
Your husbando did.
Well, now I've left you for 2B. Thank you. You hooked me up with her.
All right. So where were we?
We were talking about Nier a bit. I would say Nier is closer to Blade Runner. Than okay, so Ghost in the Shell, Alita, I think are pretty similar.
Yeah.
And I would say Blade Runner and Nier Automata are similar. They all fall under this whole trans-humanism genre. Or theme.
Are there any books that you've read that explore these themes?
Blade Runner.
Because I know, like, look.
I mean, there's a lot, but
there's a lot.
I can't think of anything at the moment. Right
like
now.
You could think of like a bunch of Isaac Asimov novels.
Oh yeah, there you go. iRobot right there.
Yeah. 3 Laws of Robotics, right?
Yeah. iRobot, surprisingly, the book is very different than the movie.
Yeah. Will Smith is not in the book.
Not at all. The doctor, God, what was her name? Susan something. She was in the book. Oh. She was one of the central characters in the book. She's telling all these different short collected stories in there. So,
and like I said, the same question arises, right, in that book.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting scenarios because, again, what it comes down to is these robots are very human in a sense. Imagine, okay, in iRobot, the robots look less human than in the other stories we've talked about, but if you had given them skin to make them indistinguishable from a human, you would not be able to tell the difference, except for the fact that they had to obey those 3 laws of robotics.
Yeah. Well, look, I just thought of another one that I had bought the game of. Detroit Become Human. It explores these themes heavily.
Seems like a lot of stories nowadays are starting to jump on this bandwagon.
I mean,
we've had a resurgence in it.
Yeah, it's good because these are questions that we soon are going to be asking ourselves. You know, what does it actually mean? Or because we are developing technologies now. I'm pretty sure there is AI that is self-aware.
Well, I mean, people are trying to make robotic prosthetics. I mean, even Konami sponsored the fucking bionic arm for that dude. Yeah. I don't think it worked out well, but I mean, that's a step in the right direction because that's going to make a huge difference for a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, I for one am all for it because it's like your physical body is already like a machine. So if the next step in evolution is to assimilate with machinery, then consider we have a lot of problems environmentally right now. At some point in the future, Earth might not be sustainable. I mean, eventually, everything dies, and this planet will too. Hopefully, we won't push it to extinction before its time. But as things change and we need to adapt, maybe machinery will allow humanity to keep going.
So that's the thing, right? It's like you have that line in Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum's like, life finds a way.
Yeah.
Right? So in a sense, like, I look at that line and I'm like, consciousness will find a way. Because it's like, we look at space and we look at it as like the absence, it has like the absence of oxygen that we can't sustain. We can't live up there.
But a robot potentially
could. Or, or there's other beings that don't require oxygen to.
I mean, again, it does come down to what consciousness is. I don't believe, humanity would be the same if we switched to robotic bodies, because what we are is a culmination of everything.
Yeah.
Our environment, our bodies, the people around us, all these different factors. If you take an organism and drop it into a new environment, it might act entirely different than it used to.
I mean, that's kind of like sort of like the process of evolution, pretty much.
Right. So, again, I think this idea of human as being these meat sacks is.
Yeah.
I think that's what these stories are trying to get at. That it's more than just that.
Exactly.
So, but this idea of a human is that it is this.
Yeah.
That's why we have to make these distinctions to
help navigate
this
reality.
The reality, exactly. But it's not meant to be confused for the actual reality, because it's a map at the end of the day. And if a map is exactly identical to the reality, then it's not a map. It's useless. You simplify things to understand better.
Like, I'll add on to that. Like, for me, like, everybody's map is going to be different.
But you can always give your map to someone. You allow them to copy it, and it'll be in their own way. The more maps you have, the more frameworks for reality you have, the better. Just never confuse it for what reality is, because reality can never fit inside of a box. It's always gonna. You're gonna mess yourself up doing that. You'll go in mental loops and never be able to fully understand it. You'll become dogmatic and zealous. So. It always comes down to having an open mind.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I just try to simplify it to, for me, everything that I see is just something that, like, and for me, myself, is just, to have that will to exist, to be present, to be in, like, that's what, and obviously, the golden rule, just treat right, be right with whatever you come across, whether it's living or not living.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then you come into the problem of what is right and what is wrong in the moment, because it's always tough.
Yeah.
Which is why just be present and I guess integrity. Use integrity in your decision making is the best way. So. But what these stories ultimately get at for me is it's not coming to an answer about what any of these things are, about what human is. It's about expanding the idea.
Exactly. Like I said, even in those frameworks of these stories, they really don't give you a definition of what being human is. It's they just say, "Oh, you're acting more human. You're actually better than a human," but they don't give you the exact definition of what that human is. It's just kind of like
human is something idealized in this.
Yeah.
Because you have humans, as in human bodies,
exactly,
walking around being absolute shitbags.
No, and
that's
what I'm saying.
Those are the people that are they're contrasted with these non-human characters, these robotic characters that are more human in regards to empathy and emotion, and compassion for life.
So that's what I'm saying is, like, in these frameworks, like, they don't really give you like a clear-cut definition of what they're trying to say that you're better than, but they do in fact, like, help you raise that awareness, or that they raise the question of helping you, like, hey, it's hard to explain, because they kind of give you a little bit of a better understanding of what it is, but that's also which is going to be unique to everyone else. But they also kind of help you raise that question and help you question yourself of, okay, like, yeah, what does that actually mean? Maybe we should research this more. We should, or
just think about it,
or think about it more.
It's
think
kind of
about
hard
how
to
we're
it's kind of
acting.
hard to research the meaning of life.
No. Yeah. I mean, like, you get what I'm saying, man.
Yeah. I want to pull specific examples from some of these things, but I'm also trying to avoid spoilers, especially for Alita, because that just came out. Really, people go watch it. It's good.
Yeah, it's actually
and it's
really good.
It's probably the best live action anime adaptation I've seen.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better one. I haven't seen many. I've seen Rurouni Kenshin. I've seen Dragon Ball Evolution. That was fucking horrible. Who the fuck did that? Which director? I want to slap him. What the fuck did you do?
Don't do that.
Yes.
You gotta treat people with integrity. You gotta forgive their mistakes.
A slap is pretty. It's pretty kind for what you did to Dragon Ball. I'm joking. But no, Dragon Ball Evolution was bad.
Oh, I believe it. I love that edit where they got Goku's head just sliding on the car. It's like someone made that on loop. It's just like him just dodging shit. It's like.
Man, did they even watch Dragon Ball?
I don't know, man. Let's change the topic. I don't want to remember it.
Okay, let's go back to Alita and let's drop down from the philosophical stuff to as a movie. What did you think of it? Just you're going to watch it, have fun. Did you get what you wanted?
Yeah, I did. I got that and more. I mean,
were there lots of feels?
There were good feels, man. I mean, just seeing Rose Salazar. Hopefully I didn't butcher her name. Yeah, Rose Salazar.
Okay, yeah.
She plays the character of Alita. Her performance, I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that childlike wonder, and with the visual effects added to her, you weren't really drawn out. It was really well done and made it believable that this is what an actual.
So as a movie buff, because you watch a lot of movies, you thought the special effects were on point?
I thought I thought they were definitely on point. I mean, we've come a far, far way from what we were able to do in movies now, and I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of spectacle for me. I was pretty wowed by how colorful some of the things were.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the action scenes were good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we had Chris on talking about this and he'd seen the movie, he might say something, because I think there were a lot of cuts, but it's also computerized, so I'm just like, whatever.
Exactly, you can't.
I'm calling you out, Chris. Go watch Alita. I want your opinion.
See, there you go. Chris will be like, "This is why I prefer human movies." So you don't have to have that many cuts.
No, because he likes Blade Runner.
I know that.
He'd probably like Alita. He does like anime. He's just.
I know.
He also is like, most anime is shit, which is not entirely untrue. There's a lot of crap out there.
Well, that's the same thing with movies, though. The same thing with any entertainment media.
Yeah, because there are a lot of crap movies too.
There's a lot of crap video games. There's a lot of crap music.
Yeah.
But then it's all.
It's all subjective anyway.
It's subjective and based on the person.
I've had people tell me games I thought were crap were actually good.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, what? You like Assassin's Creed? Ugh.
I mean,
yeah, I'm sorry. I find Assassin's Creed boring.
Man, you are just. This is where our viewer, our subscribers just drop. This is like just.
Why? Because I said I don't like Assassin's Creed. Okay.
I'm just joking.
I don't like it. Doesn't mean you can't like it.
Exactly. That's how you gotta look at it.
I want to like Assassin's Creed.
It's got
a cool aesthetic. It's got an interesting story, but like that gameplay for me is just.
It's just too repetitive. See, and even in Assassin's Creed, I think they question that.
What? What do you mean they question it?
Like, what does it mean to be human? I mean, they go into themes and stuff like that.
I don't remember about that. I know they go into memory and past.
Yeah, memory and past,
I mean, carrying the memories of your ancestors in your genes.
So,
I mean, that is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it quite fits in with this theme,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a cool exploration.
Yeah, because I mean, like you could say, like, is it your memories? Because I know they have that philosophical conversation in Ghost in the Shell, the boat scene. Seriously, if you Google or YouTube Ghost in the Shell boat,
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell boat scene.
It'll pop up. It's a really good, interesting discussion that they have in this show, which was done, or in the movie, which is done years ago. And think about it, like that's where we're coming up now with technology.
What, then we need to start questioning this?
Yeah, I'd say so, especially with the development of AI. Like I've said this before, that we are getting there slowly. Not even say slowly, but who knows, man? I mean, not quite to the level of like Ghost in the Shell where we're gonna be able to transport our brains and whatnot, but the lines between, consciousness is kind of what you deem.
Well, I was gonna say we're already cyborgs.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you walked out of the house without your phone and then realized, holy crap, I don't have my phone?
Yeah.
It's kind of a scary feeling. You get anxiety and you're just like, oh, well, what if someone contacts me? What if this and that? No. It keeps us all connected. It's a tool. You have information at your fingertips. I mean, come on, you're basically hooked up to the Xandarian world mind, man. We're all part of the Nova Corps now.
Yeah.
So that means if you take out everyone else's phone, you get everything for yourself. All the power accumulates. I'm joking. Don't actually go destroying people's phones, please. Don't be like Shazam. You're charged.
It could be. Oh yeah. I'm actually excited for that movie. I mean, surprisingly, I think that
it looks good.
Yeah, it looks
and
like
I've pretty much disliked the DCE. They call it the DCEU, right?
Yeah.
The movies. Yeah. I pretty much disliked it entirely so far.
Yeah.
They fucking turned Batman into a jobber. I'm just like, what? Get out. No, Batman.
It's not even that. Just, I mean, like, see, now we're just changing the topic. Let's get back on to what we're discussing. Or do we?
But what if humans evolved into superheroes?
Well, that's the question, right? That's something they question in X-Men all the time.
Hey,
Mutants
Clark Kent is not a human, but is he more human than human? I think so. Yeah, all these stories.
Yeah, because like the thing is, like, it doesn't really just apply to just being non-organic beings. I mean, it applies to almost everything.
Yeah, which again is why I come down to the idea that human is not the body, and that why these stories also come to this conclusion too is that it's more than that.
Yeah,
and it's just. Again, that's why I use consciousness as the word for it, is because it's.
That's the thing. It's like, I love the fact that like these movies question it. It's like it's more than that, but then it's also like we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's for you to figure out.
You know it when you see it.
Exactly. It's something you can't explain, but you know.
Yeah. It does. It defies definition.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like something you just know. Like, like you just kind of know it, I guess.
Yeah, for certain.
Yeah, I think
that pretty much covers it, because we're kind of talking in circles now.
Yeah,
and to avoid spoiler territory,
exactly.
We kind of should cut it short.
Yep. And so we'll leave it off to you guys, man. Tell us in the comments, what do you think is more human than human?
Mm-hmm. And also, go see Alita and let us know, or if you have already, let us know how you liked it.
Exactly.
Talk to me about Alita, please. I like it.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it, surprisingly. And, yeah, it was really good.
Let me see if I still have those old VHSs with the OVA.
And if you haven't watched the OVA, be sure to check out Propeller Anime's Anime Night this Thursday at the Pikuri Sushi Lounge.
That's right. I think it starts at 7.
I think so. Well, you can check up on their Facebook page.
Yeah, I'll post the link for that in the video. So, that's all for us today.
Yep.
And I'm Zia.
I'm Kay.
And we will see you next time.